Welcome everyone. I know last week we had a little short break. It was not the happiest of breaks, but we're here today. Baruch Hashem. We're going to start on page 18. We just finished the Brita of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir, and he brings down all of the different character traits that we're going to see. That's coming up with the ladder of going into each one of those different character traits that's going to bring us to a level of perfection. Just wanted to bring, I was looking into a little bit about Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir, and I wanted to share with you guys something pretty interesting. So the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, we read a couple weeks ago in Parshat Balak, close to the end, when one of the kind of blessings, curses that Bilam gave, he said that he wants to die. He wants to die in the manner of the righteous and the just. And so he says that he wants to have a mavet. He wants to have a death in the path of the Yisharim, in the manner of the just. So I thought that's a very interesting word, especially since we're learning Messilat Yesharim. So I went and looked as to who is this Bilam guy, where is there another form of Bilam? So lo and behold, the Or HaChaim brings down that he was none other than the donkey of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir. It says he was a Gilgul, he was a reincarnation in the donkey of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir. The Gemara brings in Masechet Chulin that he had a very smart donkey. The donkey of Bilam, of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir, wouldn't eat non-tithed food. He would know when it was tithed or not. And so he would go ahead, and if it was not tithed, he wouldn't eat from it. If it was tithed, he would eat from it. And so the Or HaChaim says that he was the reincarnation of the donkey of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir. And so then he says he wants to die by the hand of the just, the Yisharim, and then the Ramchal brings out a sefer called Mesilat Yesharim on basically the Brita of Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir. So we're saying that it was a prophecy of already Bilam of this book that would come out probably somehow, some way. So I thought it was really interesting. So we finished the ladder, right? And now we're going to kind of finish off, finally, the introduction. So, והנה, על פי הברייתא הזאת, הסכמתי לחבר חבורי זה, ולהזכיר לאחרים, and he said that now that he's going to base his whole work, the Mesilat Yesharim, based on this Brita, and in his humility, right? He's saying that he's coming to teach himself, to remind myself and remind others. Of course, he's talked about this before, that these things aren't, he kind of brings it out, that these aren't chidushim, these aren't novelties. For him, maybe it wasn't a novelty, but for us, it's a novelty. But he's also being humble, saying that he's not really trying to bring any new novelties. Really, they're all novelties. This whole book is full of chidushim, novelties. But in his humility, he's saying, it's, you could have probably learned this on the streets if it wasn't for me. But of course, he's just being humble. And he's saying, Tenae ha'avoda hashlema lemadregotehem. Because in order, he wanted to put this together so that he can remind himself in a kind of progressive manner how to get to perfection, how to get to this high level of Kedusha that we said that he's going to be able to get to Ruach HaKodesh, Tchiat HaMeitim, bring back the dead. And so he decided that this was the perfect step-by-step manner. והבאר בכל אחד מהם עניינה וחלקיו או פרטיו, הדרך לקנות אותו ומה הם המפסידיו והדרך לשמור מהם. And he's going to bring right now a basic outline of each chapter, more or less. That he's saying that each chapter, how is he going to organize the chapter? He's first going to bring the basic idea and the components or the details of that character trait. And then he's going to bring the way to acquire that character trait. And then he will give the factors that may lead to its detraction, that things that might lead to losing it, and how to protect from those factors that might lead to losing these character traits. So he's basically giving a full comprehension on how to obtain and keep these character traits. And so he's just kind of giving that outline right now. כי אקרא בו אני וכל מי שימצא בו נחת למען נלמד ליראה את השם אלוקינו ולא תשכח ממנו חובתנו לפניו. So he's saying again that he's just reiterating that he's writing the book, so anyone who is pleased with it and can read it, again he's kind of being humble. He's trying to say that it's going to be that it's not trying. Okay, here we go. And so we're always saying that it has to be on the forefront of our mind, fearing Hashem, working Hashem, making sure that our manner in this world is something that isn't happenstance, it's intentional, that our purpose in this world is to service Hashem. ואשר חומריות הטבע משתדל להסיר מליבנו. He's going to talk about this, but in general, we say that the physicality is always going to attempt to remove from our hearts, to make us forget. הקריאה וההסתלקות ויעלה על זיכרוננו ויראינו אלא מצווה עלינו. The physicality, the nature, is just going to always try to make us forget. And he's saying that the reading of this work, though, if you keep going back over it, it'll help you refresh, it'll help you remember, and it'll awaken the command to do so. It's basically, he's giving a really big klal. He's giving a big a general rule in all of Judaism, all of everything, that nature is going to lead you to forget. This world is just going to lead you to stumble and to fall into routine. It's going to make you become more robotic if you do something more often. And the idea is that you always need to refresh, you always need to remember, you always need to go back and learn these things anew in order to always come back and say, hold on, oh wait, I remember reading this, but now that I read it again, it's going to go back in my mind. That's the idea of, in general, why the calendar, why the world works in a circle, in a cycle, right? We go over the same parshas every year. Why do we need that? You could have read the parshas once. 1 year we'll do the Chumash, 1 year we'll do Yoshua, 1 year we'll do... After 24 years, maybe, okay, then we can go in the cycle. Well, then we'll remember. We'll forget all of the 24 years. But instead, what do we do every year? We go over the same parsha, same parshas. Why? Because every year you learn something new. You're a different person. You have new insights. You have there's so much new commentary. Saying the same thing with this book. Again, he's not trying to be haughty or anything, but he's saying that the idea is that when we go through the year, I don't know about you, every time I read Rashi, I'm like, wait, I read that Rashi last year? Like, I don't remember. And so the same thing with this book. He's saying that you have to come and learn it over and over again. Another thing that is just interesting to note is that the sages say that Mashiach is going to come riding on a donkey. And a donkey in Hebrew is chamor. It's a donkey. So it doesn't mean that he's actually going to be riding on so some people say that, some mefarshim say it's not that he's actually going to be coming on a donkey, rather that rochev al chamor, that he's going on a donkey, means he has full control over the chomriyut, over physicality. Because chomer also means physicality, like we said over here, the physicality. And so the Mashiach will have total control. He'll be riding over the physicality of this world, meaning it doesn't sway him. He's kind of outside the realm of the physicality, even though he's going to have a physical form, right? And we see this with some rabbis, that they're so detached from this physical world that they're only in the learning, only with Hashem. And so similarly with the Mashiach. So we said that Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir also had a chamor. He also had a donkey. And so it's interesting to notice that in order for someone to really understand, and of course Rabbi Pinchas Ben-Yeir had to have understood this, if he was the one stating this Brita, he was the one giving us the secrets to success, how to become the person to bring people back to life, must mean he had that ability also. And that's why he also had a chamor, he had a donkey, that he was detached from, meaning he was also detached from the physicality. And so it's and so again, in order for us to really obtain these things, we have to detach ourselves from physicality, meaning whatever. And we've talked about this last week, that the way that the Brita was introduced is that a person has to always guard himself from evil ways. He doesn't. Mesilat Ramchal doesn't bring that. But it says that a person always has to protect himself from the evil ways, meaning from the ways of nature, because nature is always going to bring a person into a lull. And that's also an idea. What's the physicality? That we say that there's 4 elements, right? There's earth, water, air, and earth, right? Fire. Sorry, yeah. I said earth twice. And so all of the earth, air, water, and fire, all of those are moving. They're sometimes in a state of rest, but they're always moving. Generally, most of the time, they're always moving. The only thing that's in a state of rest is earth, is the ground. It's not moving unless someone moves it. But everything else, just throughout nature, you'll see that it's moving. Air is moving. Sometimes they say the air stands still, but that's not 100% true, because the air particles are always moving. And the idea behind that is that the ruchaniyut, the spirituality is always moving. You can't stay still. It says, who are still? One of the prophets says that I saw the standings, ra'iti ha'omdim, with the mahalchim, with the people that are walking. And the Mefarshim say that's the difference between the angels and the people in this world. In this world, we're always moving up, or either going up or we're going not up. and so, but the angels, they have only one leg, and so they're not moving. They're not going. You can't walk forward. You can't move forward with one leg. You have to hop maybe, but you can't move forward like we move forward. And so the difference between us humans and angels is that we are able to elevate ourselves to levels higher than the angels, and we've seen that we're able to make ourselves and perfect ourselves like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was able to get to a level that he was almost higher than the angels. And so the idea, though, is that that's those 3 elements: fire, air, and water. That they're always moving. But then you have the ground, which is physicality. It's stagnant, and that's always the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is always going to pull you down to that stagnant, and that's what we call nowadays gravity, right? Gravity is always trying to bring you down to the ground. That's the Yetzer Hara. He's always going to try to bring you down to a state of rest, so you're not moving, you're not elevating yourself. And so in order to break that cycle, we have to break that physicality away from us, and the only way you can really do that is by constantly going back and reevaluating and relearning this book. So that's what he's saying. He's saying this book is a necessity in order for a Jew to continue his Yiddishkeit. Okay, we'll finish off now the introduction. Hashem yeh b'chislenu, and Hashem may be with our aspirations. V'yishmor ragleinu milached, and He will protect us from faltering. V'yitkayem banu bakashat hameshorer ha'ahur le'elohav, and a beautiful way to express who David HaMelech is. He says, may the heartfelt plea of the psalmist, David HaMelech, beloved to Hashem, be fulfilled. What did David HaMelech say? He said in the Pasuk, Horeni Hashem darkecha, ahalech b'amitecha yached levavi le'ira shemecha. Teach me, Hashem, your ways, so I may travel in truth, dedicate my heart to fear your name. Amen kini ratzon. So I just wanted to, because this pasuk it says the Gaon Mevilna, the Gra, he said that he read the Messilat Yesharim. He loved the Gaon Mevilna. They overlapped not so much time, the Ramchal and the Gaon Mevilna, but there was some overlap between them. But unfortunately, they never met. And the Gaon Mevilna, though, got a copy of the Mesilat Yesharim, and he said that he couldn't find one word out of place in the first 11 chapters, meaning the first 11 chapters were perfect in his eyes. And he said that each word is specifically, you'll see sometimes Hashem, the Ramchal calls Hashem Elokeinu. Sometimes he'll call him Makom, the place. He has different names, and the Ramchal says every name is specific in its use. We don't know it, and unfortunately, I don't think the Gaon Mevilna wrote a commentary on Messilat Yesharim, but he said every word, every explanation was specific. So if he brought this pasuk in, it must be a specific pasuk. It must be a specific verse that he's bringing. So I just wanted to. I saw that there was a Zohar on this. It's not too in depth, so it's manageable. So Rabbi Shimon brings down this pasuk. He says, "Katuv b'Teilim," right? The verse that we just read. Horenu Hashem darkecha alecha b'mitecha yeched lavavi leira shemecha. That teach me Hashem your ways, so I may travel in your truth. Dedicate my heart to fear your name. And so the idea of this he brings down is that if you think about it, how can someone, and specifically David HaMelech, pray to go in the ways of Hashem? Because there is a Gemara that says everything is up to Hashem except for the fear of Hashem. And it also says that when a baby is born, in Masechet Nida, it says when a baby is born, the angel comes to Hashem and it says, is it going to be a rich person? Is it going to be a poor person? Is it going to be a good-looking person? Not good-looking person? He brings all these different things, and then the Gemara says, wait, but you didn't bring, is he going to be a tzaddik or is he going to be a rasha? And we're saying, no, that's not up to Hashem. That's up to, Kiviyachol, it's not up to Hashem because we have free will, so that's up to the person. If that's the case, then how can David pray to Hashem to, quote-unquote, make me a tzaddik? Right? That's Hashem could say, hey, that's up to you, buddy. It's that's called free will. So the Rabbi Shimon brings down that the idea of it is that he prayed that he would have such clarity in his choices that he would always choose the great good. And I heard, especially coming up to Elul, I heard that the idea of this is that we should pray that we're able to do tshuva. That the tshuva is something that's, the Gemara says in Masechet Pesachim that there were 6 things created before the creation of the world. The first thing was tshuva, and then only after that was Torah. It means the Torah was only created, it was second to tshuva. And the answer why that is because the Torah is a book of commandments. If you do this, then you get reward. If you don't do it, then you get punished. And now someone does one sin, that's it, they're punished. They're going to go the rest of their lives knowing that they're going to get punished. So he had to lakdim trufa lemaka, he had to bring the healing before the affliction, and brought tshuva before creating the Torah. To teach, to bring into existence that there is a exit method, there is a way that you can to rectify any mistakes that someone could have done. And therefore, tshuva had to be created before. So the idea, and also with what we're reading now, is that we have to pray in order to have the clarity to do tshuva, to pick the right things. And I think that's why the Ramchal brought this, specifically this verse, is because he's saying that yes, we're about to read this, and B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to learn all of these different aspects of how to become perfect. But at the end of the day, we always have to pray to Hashem, and we have to pray to Hashem that it becomes so clear to us that we're always going to be able to do to go down the right method, the right path, to always choose the right choice, and always make sure that we're in the path of Hashem, because that's something that has to also be prayed for. We can't. It always has to be something that we're always asking Hashem for. It can't just be something that we completely put onto ourselves, because. Like what we know, that a person who thinks that everything is it belongs to him, then he's sadly mistaken. He's going to come back. The Ramchal is going to talk about this, and later when he's talking about arrogance, is that a person who's arrogant, he thinks everything's me. It doesn't only mean my possessions. He also thinks my wisdom is me. He thinks.
About you. What do you think of it?
So I guess this class is good then. So a person who always thinks it's me, he doesn't realize that it's Hashem. Once the Magid Mazdarich, the Baal Shem Tov was his student, And the Baal Shem Tov came to the Magid Mezrich, and he came to knock on his door. And the rabbi said, who's there? He said, I'm here. It's me. So he opened the door. He said, how are you? Baal Shem Tov, this and that. Okay. He said, listen, I'm pretty old. It's hard for me to travel. There's a Brit Milah in the next city over. If you can just go and officiate, maybe be the Sandak if they want, just do it just come back. It's going to be a couple hours. You don't have to be there too long. If you can do it for me. He said, for sure, Rabbi, anything for the rabbi. He goes, he officiates the Brit, everything's good. They sit down to eat. He's getting ready to leave. Suddenly, one of the family members says, there was a stolen bag. Oh gosh. Stolen bag as bag. Yeah, like a backpack.
Kind of like that right there.
Yeah, kind of like this, right? Stolen bag. It had a lot of important utensils in it. It was very expensive. Suddenly everyone's looking. Everyone in the city knew each other more or less. And so they were looking at the odd one out. Who's the odd one out? The Baal Shem Tov. Suddenly they're all like, okay, we all know each other. Or, who? Baal Shem Tov, sorry to bring this to the rabbi, but maybe the rabbi stole the bag. No, I didn't steal the bag. It wasn't me. Maybe go ask. Maybe we can just check your bags just to make sure that you didn't take it. You can go check, but it's not me. I'm telling you, it's not me. They check him, they interrogate him. Things turn out. Finally, they realize they bring him to the TSA. The TSA says he's clear, and so he's clear. And all the time he's saying, I don't understand. It wasn't me. I don't know why you guys thought it was me. Finally, they let him go. They found someone else had taken it. He goes back to the rabbi, Magid Mezrich, and he said, no, how was the Brit? He said, yeah, it was great. It was a good Brit, good food, catering was good. But just one thing that was weird was they thought that I stole something. I said, so you learned. What did I learn? So Magid said, what did you say? He said, I said it wasn't me. So he said, then why when you knocked on the door, you said it was me? Right? The whole purpose of this world is, it's not me, it's Hashem. And once you can understand that, then you understand that everything that happens is all from Hashem. And so, with that in mind, we're able to show that we can rely on ourselves as much as we can, but we always have to pray to Hashem for that extra push. When you say Ba'al Taher, someone who comes to, the Gemara says, someone who comes to purify himself, Mesayin oto. The Hashem will help him. But that means you have to ask for it, you have to pray for it, you can't just be stagnant and think that everything is going to come and fall on you on the platter. So that's how he ends the Hagdama. And we're going to start Perek Aleph, the first Perek, probably one of the most foundational chapters in any modern work. I don't know if it's modern, but it's pretty modern. And he's going to talk over here about Be'ur Klal Chovat Adam Be'olamo. So before we even get into these stages, and I saw one of the Perushim is that actually this is the first stage. It's the stage of Torah. We said Torah mevi lidei zehirut, that Torah brings to watchfulness, carefulness. We still never found a good translation to zehirut. Nonetheless, we're going to say that Torah, which is the sod, which is the man's mission in this world, and now he's going to explain it. So you guys got you want to know the secret of the universe? We're about to figure it out. So he brings down Yesod HaChasidut ושורש העבודה התמימה הוא שיתברר ויתעמת אצל האדם מה חובתו בעולמו ולמה צריך שישים מבטו ומגמתו בכל אשר הוא עמל כל ימי חייו. So he's saying, and they bring down the note that the way he started it is with the letters of Hashem's name. If you look at the first letters, Yesod HaChasidut v'Shoresh HaAvodah is the first letters of Yud Hey, and then again Vav Hey is Hashem's name. And so again, he's showing his love for Hashem in this work. And so he's saying that the foundation of true piety and the root of perfect service of Hashem, he's going to bring is formed by a person's clarifying and verifying to himself, A, what his obligation is in this world, and B, what's his ambition, what's his outlook, what's the driving force, what's the end goal, okay? Because at that and everything that he strives, he'll see all of his days of his life. He's always going towards something. A person, stuck in let's say a corporate job, if he's stuck there too long, he loses his ambition, he loses his outlook, he loses his where's my life going, and he's stuck in the mud. He's there 9 to 5 every day, clocking in, clocking out. And what happens in that sense? He becomes complacent. He doesn't go above and beyond. He's stuck in the box. So that's not Judaism. Judaism always is. We have to always strive to grow. We can't be complacent with our level. We always have to be going in an upward direction. So we have to know what our obligation is. What's the work that we do in this world, and where is that bringing us toward? Because that's always going to have to be our driving force to move forward. Just something interesting is the way he starts it also is Yesod HaChasidut, the foundation, and then he says V'shoresh HaAvodah. So these are two different things, right? There's a foundation, and then there's also a root. What's the difference between foundation and root? We've talked about foundations before. But a foundation, in order for you to build a big building, that means that the foundation has to be perfect. And if there's even a slight tilt in the foundation, then the higher the building is, the more it's going to start leaning, and it can cause issues in the future. It might even cause the building to collapse. That's considered that's a foundation. So when we're saying the chasidut, that the idea of piety, which we talked about is loving Hashem, is the idea of striving to be closer and working Hashem out of love, and always going lifnim mishurat hadin. That has to be the foundation of anything that we go forward with. And then we have something called shoresh, a root. Shoresh avodah tmima, the perfect service of Hashem. What the root is, as opposed to yesod, a yesod is something that is a foundation, it's the starting building blocks. A shoresh, a root, when you look at the tree, the shoresh is the life force. It's something that gives the life to the tree, to the plant, and it supplies and makes that tree grow. Without the roots, you don't have a tree. And also, with roots, the greater the roots, the stronger the tree. And so, over here, when we're saying with the perfect service of Hashem, that's going to be the growing force. So you can have a yesod, you can have a foundation, but if you don't build a house on that foundation, what good is that foundation? And so we need two things here. We need the foundation to be good, but we also need that root system to be good, so to help propel the growth upward. And that's going to be coming from these two different ideas, is what's his obligation. Once you know what your obligation is, that's going to be your foundation. Nothing's going to be able to tilt you. Nothing's going to be, and if there's even a small tilt in what's your objective in this world, what are you in here for this world, later on, it can bring a person to kfirut chas v'shalom. It can bring a person to become a pikoros, a heretic, because it just takes one. Well, like we saw with Elisha ben Avuya, the Gemara brings that Elisha ben Avuya, he was a very big tzaddik. He was the rabbi of Rabbi Meir, and he was one of the 4 people to go to Pardes, a high level of state of consciousness. He was able to reach that with Rabbi Akiva, which Rabbi Akiva, we all know, is one of the greatest rabbis of the Tanaim. And it says that when he, after going through this Pardes experience, he came back and he was a heretic. He stopped keeping Shabbat. He started being immoral. All of these different things from this experience. And the Gemara says, you know why? Because his foundation wasn't 100% stable. It wasn't straight. There was a slight tilt. And that slight tilt, the greater the building is, the greater the Tana Elisha ben Avuya was, well, you didn't see it until the whole building came falling down. And then everyone comes and says, what's the problem? You have all the, in Miami a couple years ago when they had the whole building collapse. Everyone went to go check. What happened was this. Oh, they found something was wrong with the foundation. Everything falls down. Same thing here. They checked the foundation. They saw there was a little tilt. They bring different reasons. One was they found that when he was reading books, that one time they saw that he dropped a pamphlet of a Roman heretical commentary or something like that. And so they already saw that something was wrong there. They said also another commentary was that his existence came out, his Torah came out, not from Lashem Shamayim. What happened was that at the Brit Milah of Elisha ben Avuya, his father Avuya, had a big Brit Milah, brought all the rabbis, and he saw that Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai and a lot of the rabbis, what do the rabbis do? They're mingling before the Brit starts. So what do? They went to the Beit Midrash, started learning. Or I guess to one of the rooms over there and started learning. Suddenly, some of the guests come to Avuya and they're saying, hey, I don't know what these rabbis or what voodoo these guys are doing, but there are, we see that there's a fire on top of your house, and any bird that flies over it gets instantly crisped. Free fried chicken just coming out of the sky. So Avuya went, he saw this, and he said, wow, if this is the Torah, I want my son to learn it. And so we saw that the foundation of all of Elisha's Torah was not from a place of Lashem Shamayim. It was just because his father wanted to kind of take pride in him. And so he's saying even something so minute like that can cause the whole building to fall down. And so when we have to understand that what our obligation is in this world, it has to be clear to us. Like what we just said, David prayed for clarity according to the Zohar. That it has to be so clear to us that there's no way that anyone can come or anything that can come and make us falter. And it's a big test in our emunah. It's one of the hardest tests in emunah. That it doesn't matter what happens in our lives. That as long as we're so concrete in who Hashem is and what Hashem is and what our obligation is in this world, that nothing can move us. And so that would start the process of building up, and which is the idea of directing your ambitions and your outlook towards what is the goal, what is the purpose of this world. Okay? So now we're going to see, these are the two tenets, and B'ezrat Hashem, we get the secrets laid out for us in a silver platter. והנה, מה שהראונו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה הוא שהאדם לא נברא אלא להתענג על השם וליהנות מזיוו שכינתו, שזהו התענוג האמיתי והעידון הגדול מכל העידונים שיכולים להימצא, ומקום העידון הזה באמת הוא בעולם הבא, כי הוא הנברא וההכנה ומצטרכת לדבר הזה. Now our sages taught us that the purpose of man's creation, why did Hashem create man? It seems kind of counterintuitive, but you bring him into a world full of Yisharim, full of afflictions, full of sorrow. It seems counterintuitive if you're telling me that Hashem is a all-loving, all-good Hashem. So, in fact, what was Hashem's purpose in creating man? Is to make man delight in his presence, so he can have the ultimate good, and to benefit from the radiance of the Shekhinah. For that's the only true delight. And he's going to bring out that in this chapter that you're going to see that what we call pleasure in this world it can't be true pleasure. Why? Because true pleasure isn't something that lasts for a couple seconds, for a couple minutes. True pleasure has to be something eternal. If you're telling me that the whole purpose of this world is for those 5 seconds of pleasure or for a minute of pleasure, well, that's a very sad existence then. That's always, and that's what people always are running after, is for those 5 seconds of pleasure, for that 10 minutes of pleasure, whatever it may be. But we're saying that's not the greatest pleasure, because the greatest pleasure of all pleasures is Hashem and his radiation and his divine presence. And that's what we're always going to be striving toward. And therefore it cannot exist in this place, because that's only going to be in the world to come. Because something so powerful would have to destroy this world. If we can't even have the sun, and they say the sun is an inch closer, right, a centimeter closer, would burn this whole world. Now imagine Hashem, who's how much more so than the sun. So if Hashem now came out in his full glory into this world, I don't even think crisps would describe what we would all be. But at the end of the day, that is the greatest pleasure that there is. And so that's the whole purpose of creating man. Now with that in mind, in order to get to that ultimate pleasure, you have to have this world, like it says in Pirkei Avot, that, he's going to bring that, right? Let's continue. And this is what the sages said in Masechet Avot, that this world is a hallway into the next world, into the world, the world above, the Olam Haba. I heard a mashal, bring a parable. Well, how can someone feel, right? So imagine two friends and from high school get departed. One went off to college, one stayed in the village, became a farmer, the other one became a successful businessman, and now he's finally getting married. So he invites his friend to the city for his wedding. His friend, the farmer, comes in his nicest overalls to these beautiful Waldorf Astoria wedding, and and suddenly he sees all of this food, these drinks. His eyes are popping out, and so he goes to each of the different places. He tastes, he's eating, he's drinking, he's having the time of his life, getting all these foods coming to him. He's eating these little hot dogs, the small sandwiches, these burgers, sushi. He's eating everything. He's having the time of his life, and after an hour, he's saying, "Wow, this was the best wedding I've ever been to." Suddenly, the doors open up, and they start saying, "Everyone find their seats for the actual dinner." Up until now, what was he eating? The hors d'oeuvres, the appetizers. Suddenly, they tell him to come in for the main meal. Now he's stuffed. He can't eat anything. He's saying, "What? I didn't even realize that there was a main event." And so now he's sitting there like a little schlump, watching everyone eat the main food, and he's seeing steaks and wines and dessert. And he's saying, "What did I miss out on?" He said the same thing for us in this world. We think that all these little pleasures, all of these little appetizers are the main event. Suddenly, Hashem's going to open up the doors after 120 years. If not, Mashiach will probably come before then. And Hashem, everything will be open. And then you'll start saying, "Oh, wow, this is the main event." But someone who's filled himself with the pleasures in this world, Hashem's going to be like, "Oh, you're too full now. How can you enjoy when you enjoyed in this world?" And so that's the idea, is that we have to remember that this world is just a corridor. It's just a passing place. And they said, I think it was the Chafetz Chaim, that they came to one of those rich people came to his house, and he went to sit with him. And he came to his house. He said, "Okay, let's sit and talk." He comes, he looks, he said, "Where's your couch?" He said, "What couch?" He said, "You don't have a couch in your house?" He said, "I don't understand. When you go to a hotel, do you bring your couch with you?" He said, "No, it's a hotel. I'm only there for a couple nights and then I leave." So the Chafetz Chaim said, "Same thing here. What do I need a couch for? I'm here a couple of years and then I leave." And so this world is just a corridor. It's just a passing, a vestibule for the world to come. So if that's the case, that means that the work is in this world, and then the reward is in the next world. והאמצעים המגיעים את האדם לתכלית הזה הם המצוות אשר ציוונו עליהם האל יתברך שמו. ומקום עשיית המצוות הוא רק העולם הזה. And therefore, it means that this world, like we just said, is the work. It means that we have to work this world. How do we work in this world? What's our method of work? That's the mitzvot and the commandments that Hashem has obligated us to fulfill. And the only place that you can do those mitzvot is in this world. And that's what when Moshe Rabbeinu went to get the Torah, that was the argument. He came to the angels, and the angels didn't want to let him have the Torah. And so Moshe Rabbeinu said, "I don't understand. How can you guys do the Torah over there? It says, did you guys come out of Egypt? No. Can you guys honor your father and mother? I don't know. Do you have a father and mother? No. Can you do orla and the tithing and all that? No. So what do you guys want the Torah for? You guys can't do the Torah. Has to be in this world. Therefore, you see that the Torah has to be in this world, and therefore the method of fulfilling the mitzvot can only be done in this world. Al ken husam ha'adam bazeh ha'olam betchila kedei she'al yedei ha'emsa'im ha'ele המזדמנים לו כאן יוכל להגיע על המקום אשר הוכן לו שהוא העולם הבא. And the idea is that when a person is doing mitzvot, I heard a commentary of Mefaresh that said that it says כל ישראל יש להם חלק לעולם הבא. Every Jew has a portion in the world to come. So that's just a portion. It's kind of like you have a land in Israel, or you have a land over here, right? A piece of property. Now I can go to that piece of property and I can build a tent, right? Or I can build a nice mansion. It depends on how you build it. And they're saying that that's every time someone does a mitzvah, he's laying another stone in his quote-unquote house in Olam Haba. And so when someone is working, he's doing the mitzvot, he's preparing, like he says over here, he's preparing a palace, a place for him in the Olam Haba. Meaning that every single mitzvah that he does isn't just a random, it goes up and it floats into the air and it's gone forever. No, you're building your Olam Haba. The Olam Haba is set for you. Now you have to build it. You have to build. It's a house that you're coming to. And depends on how you acted. לרבות שם בטוב אשר קנה לו על ידי האמצעים האלה, right? And that's what we just said, that in order for you to enjoy that which you've earned from the performance of the mitzvot. והוא מה שאמרו זיכרונם לברכה, and this is what the sages said in the Gemara in Masechet Eruvin, היום לעשותם ומחר לקבל שכרם. That today is the day to work, and tomorrow is to get the reward. And we see that a microcosm of this is Shabbat. Like we said, Shabbat is 1/60th of the world to come. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot says Shabbat is considered 1/60th of the world to come. There's pleasure. Also, what is one thing that we see? Is that you can't work on Shabbat. You can't cook. Meaning that anything that you take pleasure on Shabbat has to be done before Shabbat. You can't make sure that the AC is working, the food is good, that their clothes are all clean, the table is set, you have the right utensils. Everything has to be set when? Before Shabbat. Because once Shabbat starts, that's it. Game over. Whether you have the food or you don't have the food. Yes.
So how does this world preparation, the reward is Olam Haba, the spiritual world. How does Mechia Mesim, when we come back into this physical world, how does that reconcile?
So the Ramchal, when he says brings down Olam Haba, we're talking about after Tchiyat HaMeitim.
Oh, after.
Yeah. So the Ramchal brings in Derech Hashem. He has another book called Derech Hashem. He says that what we consider Olam Haba nowadays isn't Olam Haba. He calls it Olam HaNefashot. It's the world of the souls. It's kind of like a waiting place. Like, when you go to a doctor, the waiting room. So he calls it, that's how he kind of describes what we would naturally call nowadays Olam Haba, right? And what people always perceive as Olam Haba isn't. He says it's that's considered like the Olam HaNefashot. It's the waiting room of the souls until this world is ready to become Olam Haba. Because he says it's very simple, right? Because look at how we compare it. We say Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, right? If you're saying Olam Hazeh, meaning translation of literally is this world, then Olam Haba is the world to come. Meaning it's the same world, it's just to come. So he says, it's in our eyes, we say it all the time, but we just don't pay attention to it, and it's because there's this misconception that the world that we naturally call Olam Haba is all of this, where the souls are right now, He says that it's not. The Olam Haba is going to be this world in the rectified, in its perfected state. When Mashiach comes after Tchiyat HaMeitim, that's going to be considered Olam Haba. This world is Olam Haba. And so that's and so that's the idea. He says that like Shabbat, we're going to finish off in 4 minutes. And we're saying that the idea is that just like Shabbat is a microcosm, as an example of what Olam Haba is, and just like you can't do any work during the week, it says the 6 days are meant to prepare for the Shabbat, and on the Shabbat you delight in the Shabbat, Oneg Shabbat. Same thing, this world. This world is also broken down into 6,000 years, and then 7,000 years of the Shabbat, so to say. And the same thing with our lives, right? We go through our lives, the work that we do, the mitzvot that we do, is considered the work. And then, once Mashiach comes, after Tchiyat HaMeitim, then it's going to be the time for the delight. Just one other thing before I guess we continue, is that there's a distinction between two parts for where we say that the benefit is for the Olam Haba. So the Gemara says, Schar mitzvah leit almaleka, that the reward for the mitzvah of mitzvot is not in this world. So it comes to exclude something else. What is it coming to exclude? It says that the reward of Torah study, is going to be in this world. And so someone who learns Torah, he's both going to be delighting in this world and in the world to come. Mitzvot, when someone does a mitzvah, he has no physical benefit. I shake the lulav, I don't know, I'm not so, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't feel that I'm getting delighted from the shaking of the lulav, or when they blow the shofar. All of these things are their mitzvot, right? We're obligated to do them, we have to do them, but the delight in them isn't so actualized, isn't so natural. But when someone learns Torah, you see the pleasure, especially if you look at like Rav Chaim Kanievsky and Rav Yeshiv, you saw that they delighted in the Torah. And he's saying that that's the two different paths. And you have the path of the Torah, that the Torah brings a person both in this world and in the next world reward, whereas mitzvot, schar mitzvah al maleka, this is the reward of the mitzvah isn't in this world. And so you're going to say, okay, that's not fair for the woman then. The woman say, we also want the benefit of the Torah. So it said that if they send their husbands and their children to go study Torah, they get all of the benefit. And so they'll say both the benefit in this world and the benefit in the next world. And it says that in fact the woman's benefit is greater than the men's benefit in this regard. Why? So let's say a woman sends her husband to go to learn for 2 hours. Okay? First hour he leaves, so he goes. He has to first find parking. I mean, over here, Baruch Hashem, there's parking, so it's not an issue. He walks in, but on the way in, he's talking to one of his friends. And so, by the time he starts, maybe it's 15 minutes later. And then before you can start learning, what do you have to have? You have to have your coffee, or you have to have your drink. Right? and so that's another 5-10 minutes, and then he sees the other friend in the coffee room, starts talking another 5-10 minutes. By the time he starts learning, it's 30 minutes later. Okay, and then in the actual learning, always there's the getting out of the process, they're getting out of the book. They start asking, how was the football game, and so if you condense the 2 hours of learning, how much did you actually learn? Maybe an hour and a half, if we're being How much? So the man comes home. He gets, let's say, an hour and a half of reward. How much does the woman get? 2. She gets 2 hours, the full 2 hours. So the woman's always gonna have more reward than the men in that regard. So it's an investment for her, but it's the best investment that she can make because she'll always be on a higher level than her husband.
Okay, wise idea.
Okay, Mesilat Hashem. I think the rabbi will be able to give the next lesson, Mesilat Hashem. So it's been an honor giving you guys with the Messilat Yesharim, and we only see. Hopefully, we can all learn Mesilat Yesharim from the Ramchal with the coming of Mashiach.
Amen. Thank you for the class, Rabbi.
Thank you.
So what page?
We
Thank
are.
you, Rabbi.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
The
Rabbi.
problem with
Thank
the
you.
Baltimore was they shouldn't let some people.
What
in.
page are